Hey guys, this is Mark Howard, author of the Griffin Legends fantasy novel series. Thanks for joining me here today. So, with it being the end of the year here, right? We are at the very end of 2023. I thought it would be appropriate to do a quick video talking about, our year in review, right? Where we have come from and where we are going. So, the first big accomplishment of 2023, and of 2022 really, was getting Godfrey Under Siege out, right? The sequel to my first novel, Godfrey's Crusade, and that was a humongous deal, right? A lot of you folks have been asking for that ever since the first book came out back in 2021. I was excited to write it. I hope you guys were really excited to read it. So far, comments have all been really good about that. I feel that for as good as Godfrey's Crusade was, that Godfrey Under Siege was a huge improvement to my writing. And so I was really happy to get that out there to you guys. Also, we got a new short story out not all that long ago, back in October of this year, Son of House Lorraine. I like exploring different parts of this setting I'm writing. I like looking at different parts of the map, so to speak, and figuring out who's in that different spot. What are they doing, right? If you guys watched my video about maps in general, I think one of the big appeals of a fantasy map is that it helps us get a sense that there is this larger world beyond what the main characters of our narrative are doing. And so getting to explore some minor side characters and see what's going on in their neck of the woods, I think that that's something really cool to do once in a while. And so some short stories in the future, at least, I suspect will continue on that trend of looking at some of the more peripheral regions of our maps. So another big achievement here, I put this one maybe just under getting out the sequel, was getting a map of Godfrey's homeland, Lorraine, out there. This is something that I wanted from the very beginning, but due to time and resources, I wasn't able to get that map out at the release of my first book, or even at the release of the second book. But I made it a big priority to get that map done before we ventured too much further into Godfrey's saga here. And so I'm happy to say that we have some new editions of Godfrey's Crusade and Godfrey Under Siege available here. And both of these books now have some cool new fonts here for the title and chapter headings. Like you can see here on the chapter, we got that fancy new medieval looking font for both chapter headings, and the drop caps here kind of gives it more of that more authentic medieval look that I really want to have in this book. But, sorry, I'm playing with the camera here a little bit. But also, I know that there has been a little bit of a complaint from some readers that as we were looking at the map of the Nordslands, we didn't really know where we were in the first few chapters, right? We were looking for the names of these places and just not finding them there. And so I wanted to make sure in this edition that we have the kingdom of Lorraine here now. And so got a little too close there. It's hard to read the title of it. But you can see this is more of Godfrey's homeland here, and now this is going to be a map that we have in the front of every copy of Godfrey's Crusade. So if you don't have a physical copy of Godfrey's Crusade yet, this is something that makes for a nice addition to that. Also, some other improvements in this edition is there were some small typos that had persisted through I don't know how many rounds of editing, and then revisions from my professional editor, Mike, right, great guy and all that, but we're all human, and with a book this thick, it's hard not for some little typo to slip through. And so I made it a point with these new editions to catch absolutely every single one of those little buggers that I could and scrub them out. Is there still something in these books that maybe you can find that I haven't? Maybe, probably, but we're doing the best we can, right? Strive for perfection anyway. So, yeah, the story itself, though, critically is not changing, right? As a fan of science fiction and fantasy, I take a certain amount of, I guess I take a certain amount of, I'm fumbling for the right word. I take issue with, that's what I was looking for. I take issue with retconning a story, right? Once a work is out there in public, the time for making major changes, the time for shifting characters' names, changing eye colors, a time for revising the plot, right? That's all over, in my mind at least. Once it's out there in public, you should not change those elements, right? The story itself is out there for people to read, and it has to stand on its own merit from then on. And so if you've read my books before and you are happy with the story and you don't want new maps or fancy fonts or anything like that, don't feel obligated to buy these new editions, because the story itself is not changing. I was very, very particular about not changing the story itself, even though as a somewhat more experienced writer, I might look back on Godfrey's Crusade or even Godfrey Under Siege and say, well, now that I have more experience, I would want to change this or that or the other. But like I said, I'm not going to do that on principle there. So if you are happy with your copy of Godfrey's Crusade or Godfrey Under Siege as is, don't feel obligated to buy it. But like I said, if you don't have a physical copy yet, they are pretty shiny now. So I'm pretty proud of these. Looking forward at 2024 now, what I am most excited for is the release of my wife's debut novel, Eleanor's Cataphracts. She and I, we've been going through her first draft, and we've been making a number of edits to it. This is really her project, but she occasionally picks my brain and asks questions because it's a shared setting that we're both developing here. And I am really happy to be a part of this. I'm happy at the direction it's going and the way things are forming. And so we are really crossing our fingers that we will have a 2024 release for her book. When exactly, hard to say. If there's one thing that I have learned from writing novels, it's that everything takes longer than what you want it to. But 2024 has not even started yet. We're already on summer's second draft, And so I can say with a fair degree of confidence that we're going to hit that 2024 deadline. Maybe really late 2024, but it will get out there. And so I'm really excited for that prequel series to the Griffin Legends, in which we will get to meet some of Godfrey's ancestors and see what adventures they go on there. So that's going to be super cool. The other thing that we're working on, and again, if you've been watching some of my previous videos, you're probably already well aware of this, is we are working on this encyclopedia project for my fantasy setting. And the encyclopedia project is something that I think is maybe a little bit less exciting in some ways, because it's not really progressing the story forward, but it's a necessary tool for me at this point, because the world that I am developing and that my wife is developing is really expansive. There's a lot of characters, there's a lot of places, and there's a whole mythology building up around this. And so as we're developing it, we want to make sure that it's consistent, because I think that those of you who get really into this and you become very heavily invested and you want to learn more about some of the more nuanced details here, that having detailed and consistent backgrounds for everything that's all put into this is going to be really important. And so my hope is one day, after my series is finished and after Summer series is finished, and as I've mentioned previously, we've got a couple other people contributing to this universe as well, that once this encyclopedia is fleshed out enough, that maybe a few of you will want to grab a copy of it and see some of the behind the scenes details and read the footnotes and all that. So hopefully that will be something that you guys think is pretty cool, but don't expect that to hit the market until at least Godfrey's adventures are done here. I'm hoping for a 5-book series at this point. Now, this story, of course, Godfrey's Crusade, started off in my mind as a standalone book. I had always thought that, well, maybe there could be a sequel, and if that does well, maybe a trilogy. But as time has gone on, my story ideas have only expanded, and so maybe 5 books, maybe more. No promises there, but at least 5 books at this point. So once that series is done, then we will start looking into possibly getting that encyclopedia published there. So anyway, that's it for this video here. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. I really appreciate having you all here, and I hope you guys have a great New Year's, and we will talk to you all next time.